Hello, good morning, dear students and teachers. You are welcome to my YouTube channel, Exam Preparation. Today, I will provide you a chance to listen to the audio, to listen to the recording for the listening exercises given in your textbook. Please listen to the audio from the first unit and try to do the exercises. I'm here to help you do the exercises.
And young people, when you got a PhD diploma or bachelor diploma, this is just a certificate your parents paid the tuition for 4 years. Your real challenge is when you leave the college, the real life starts. The real exam starts. The real test starts. That's life.
Okay, dear students, you must have got the ideas. This is very simple listening. This is very simple recording. And now I'll help you if you have any confusions. Now listen to the audio and fill in the blanks with the appropriate words or phrases here. So, A, young people are the solution for all the worries. You must have heard the word solutions. Then B, according to the speaker, nothing easy and free. That is not easy here. Free. I'm sorry. Nothing is easy and free. The speaker says nothing is easy and free. Okay. And third one, the speaker spent 867 hours in the plane last year. I think you might have heard that word. Okay. Next D. Jack loves a unique idea, but not a great or good idea. Okay. So Jack loves, the speaker loves a unique idea, but very challenging idea, difficult idea, but not a good or great idea. Jack says that young people accepting every tough situation is training for success. Tough here. And you have the real exam starts after college life. Okay. Okay, dear students, now listen to the second. Listen to the next audio from Unit 2.
I want to talk about my experience of moving out and living on my own. Moving out to live on your own is not very common in Hong Kong. Many people still choose to live with their parents even though they have a decent job and they are already at their 30s. Many of them would stay with their parents until they get married. There are several reasons behind. Firstly, Hong Kong's rent is expensive. Many people would rather save up more money to purchase an apartment instead of renting one. Secondly, the Chinese traditional value of family is that the parents are the ones who brought you up. When you become an adult, you should also take good care of your parents and you should spend more time to be with them. And of course, there are people who are still dependent on their parents for food, clothing, household chores, etc. When I tell people about the idea of moving out, many people's reaction is like, what do your parents say? Because they assume the parents would not like their children to leave them. Well, I don't know if my parents like it, but I can tell you my parents support and respect my decision. They think it is good for me to try and live on my own, and then I would know it is the best to stay with my family. The most important reason for independent living is to save the traveling time to work. It used to take me 1 hour 15 minutes to travel to work from my previous living place. From my new apartment, it just takes me 30 minutes, so I saved 45 minutes traveling time. I don't have to get up so early, and I save 2/3 of my traveling cost. It does not only save my time to travel for work, but also for most of the places in Hong Kong. In addition, I gain my personal space and freedom by independent living. I make my own decision all the time. I do not have to say whether I will go home for dinner. I can invite my friends to come up and stay late. Of course, there are some trade-offs in living on your own. If you want to rent an apartment, there are lots of preparatory works to do. You have to keep visiting the apartments to search for your ideal one. You have to negotiate with the landlord about the price, furniture inclusion, who is responsible for the maintenance of the furniture and equipments. My experience was that after we moved into the apartment, it was not until the kitchen cupboard was soaked with water that we found out there was water leakage in the kitchen sink. Money is the main issue in living on your own. You have to be responsible for all the expenses, for example, the rent, electricity, gas, water, telephone, internet bills, etc. Therefore, you gotta be well prepared and save up for your bills. Although I find my transportation time much shorter, the saved time is spent on other things such as cooking and some other household chores. I think preparing and cooking the food do occupy a significant portion of my time. Therefore, I always try to make simple meals. On the other hand, I have to regularly tidy up my apartment and wash my clothes, so it doesn't really save much of my time after all. Now everything is settled down. I'm getting used to my new life and I'm enjoying it. I feel that moving out makes it easier for me to strike a balance between my work, my social life, my study, and my family. It may be troublesome, but it may worth.
Now, the 2020 Olympics might seem a long way away to you, but people are already talking about what new sports might be included. Today, I'm going to talk to two people who are hoping their sport might be included. The first is Johnny Mills, whose sport is wakeboarding. Johnny, can you tell us what wakeboarding is? Is it like surfboarding?
Well, a bit. It started in California because people wanted to surf but didn't have waves. It's also a bit like water skiing in that the rider is towed behind a specially built speedboat.
How fast does the boat go?
Usually at about 25 miles per hour or a bit less. The rider uses the wake the board produces in the water to launch into the air.
And then you do a lot of complicated things in the air.
That's right. Spins of up to 1,260 degrees, things like that.
1,260 degrees? That's impossible, isn't it?
Oh no, but it's pretty crazy. You spin round 3.5 times in the air.
And then you have to land again without falling over.
You'll have to come and watch some wakeboarding if you haven't seen any. Come to Wakestock in July if you can.
That's in Wales, isn't it?
Yep, Abersoch in North Wales. It's a really popular wakeboarding and music festival. It's right by the beach. It's not quite the same as California, but it's cool. It attracts a lot of great riders.
Who does wakeboarding?
They reckon about 3 million people all over the world. More guys do it, but there are increasing numbers of girls too. The people who compete are usually in their teens or 20s, but anyone can do it. There's a lot of crossover with other board sports like surfing and skateboarding. The tricks people pull are similar, and the names for things are often the same.
And looking at you, I'd say the fashion was similar too?
Yeah, the clothes and the lifestyle are similar.
Right. Now I'd like to ask Jules Russell about her sport. She's a skater in a roller derby team. Tell us about that, Jules. Is it a popular sport?
Yes, it's becoming really popular in the UK. There are about 60 leagues in England and 1,200 throughout the world. In the US and Canada, of course, and places like Scandinavia and Australia, but lots of other countries too.
The sport began in the States, didn't it?
Yes, in the 1930s, but it was more for entertainment than sport, and it died out by the 1970s. There was a revival in Texas in 2001, and from then on it's just been growing and growing.
So, how do you play it?
Well, you have 2 teams of 5 people on roller skates, of course, and they go around an oval track in the same direction. Each team has a jammer who scores points by passing members of the opposing team. They do whatever they can to stop her within reason. The team with the most points at the end of the match wins.
Oh, it sounds a bit rough.
Well, it's a contact sport, so there's bound to be a lot of pushing and falling over. It's all good fun, though. People don't often get hurt. If you try and trip someone up, you get penalised. You do try and frighten the other team a bit, though.
That's right. You have frightening clothes and special names.
People used to have incredible costumes a couple of years ago. Now the sport is changing and becoming more professional. Lots of the teams train 3 or 4 times a week and spend a lot of time in the gym. You have to be really dedicated and fit. We still have nicknames, though. I'm the Julifier.
And is the sport all female?
There are a few men who do it, but it's mostly female and amateur at the moment. Things are changing fast, though, so who knows what the future will bring. It would be fantastic to be an Olympic sport.
What do you think about the roller derby, Johnny?
It's wild. Those ladies scare me to death. Good luck to them with the Olympics thing, though, and good luck to us too.
Good luck to you both.
(2021) to be huge for space exploration. This is BreakingNewsEnglish.com. Cosmologists, astronomers, and space engineers are predicting that 2021 will be a great year for space exploration. An increasing number of countries and commercial companies are investing in technology to venture into the heavens. Entrepreneurs like SpaceX's Elon Musk and Virgin Galactic's Richard Branson are setting their sights on space tourism and sending astronauts to Mars. What once seemed like science fiction is quickly becoming space fact. Such are the advances in technology, we might no longer be surprised at news of asteroids being mined, Mars being colonized, or of new forms of holidays, such as getaway weekend breaks to the moon. The year will start with an exciting project that will help scientists better understand the universe. NASA will launch its Q-PACE probe on January the 15th. This will study the collision of small particles in space to provide an insight into how planets originally formed. A month later, NASA's Perseverance rover will land on Mars. This mission will test for signs of possible past microbial life. NASA said, returning samples of Mars to Earth has been a goal of planetary scientists since the early days of the space age. In October, the James Webb Space Telescope, the successor to the Hubble telescope, will launch into space. Its mission is to observe the first galaxies that formed in the early universe. This is Georgiana Hall reporting from South Korea.
All you have to learn right now is, we call this sadhana, okay? In the spiritual parlance, this is called sadhana. What sadhana means is, the word sadhana literally translates as a tool. So this is about sharpening your tools, learning to use your body as a tool, learning to use your intellect and mind as a tool, learning to use your emotion and energy as a tool. Everything that you have should become your tools. That means they take instructions from you and do things for you. Right now, if you say, I'm miserable, essentially, you can give it 1,000 reasons. Simply the basic thing that's happening is your intelligence is turned against you, that's all. Hello? If you remove half your brain, you will sit peacefully. Yes or no? So the problem is intelligence. Your own intelligence has turned against you. Now you can call it misery, now you can call it depression, now you can call it all kinds of things. You can give as many exotic names as you want. Essentially, your intelligence is not your sadhana. That means, it is not in your hands to use it the way you want. It is turned against you. If you sit here, you're miserable by yourself. This means what? If you are with me and miserable, you can blame it on me, Sadhguru, it's because of you I'm miserable, I am okay. But if you sit here alone and you're miserable, you're obviously in bad company, isn't it? So, this is one thing you must address. Education is not just about learning. All this learning business will be useless and meaningless in the next 5 to 10 years. Once the machine learning comes, everything that you can learn in 20 years, one little gadget will know. Your phone can do 10 PhDs a day. That's what is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. Because we have been misunderstanding memory as intelligence. Everything that you can do with your memory, a machine will be able to do better than you. So education is not just about learning, education is about learning to use yourself, learning to use your body, your mind, your emotion, everything in a certain way. It's very important that you know how to remain focused on something that doesn't mean a damn thing to you. It's very important. See, people who'll say that they lack concentration, they fall in love with the neighborhood somebody. Oh, they're fully concentrated. So it's not that they lack concentration. They say, I don't have good memory. Show them a suspense thriller movie, every scene they will remember. So their memory is pretty good. Only thing is, they have not learnt to use their mind in such a way, it doesn't matter what, they can apply themselves. If that is not there, you will not make a headway with your life. All the time, world will not be throwing the kind of ball that you want to hit. Okay, you do only what you like, you do one thing. Write down things that you like and give me.
In a very simple economy, with very few goods, people can barter. But when the economy grows, barter trade becomes ineffective. Let me explain this with a simple example. There was a small village by the river. At first, there were only 2 families. One of them bred rabbits, and the other grew wheat. To diversify their diet, they traded with each other. They agreed that 1 bag of wheat would be exchangeable for 1 rabbit. After some time, other families began to settle in the village. Every family produced something else. Some of them produced clothes, others fished, and still others bred cattle. Over time, there were many goods and services. A shoemaker sent his daughter Catherine to get a bag of wheat. The girl took the shoes and went to the farmer to propose a trade. The farmer agreed because he needed shoes, and so they exchanged. The next day, the shoemaker sent Catherine again to get another bag of wheat. But this time the farmer replied, "I'm sorry, I don't need a second pair of shoes, but I will give you wheat for a box of apples." So Catherine went to the gardener and proposed to exchange the shoes for some apples. The gardener replied, "I never wear shoes in the summer. I won't be needing them for at least 6 months. I can give you apples in exchange for new horseshoes for my horse, though." So the girl went to the forge, but the blacksmith said that he will give her horseshoes only for a new pair of trousers. Finally, the local seamstress agreed to exchange shoes for trousers. Unfortunately, this wasn't the end. It took Catherine half a day to find someone who needed shoes, but it took another half a day to finally get the wheat that she wanted. Barter trade is ineffective and time-consuming. People need something that can be used as a medium of exchange, something everyone can accept. They needed money. Money has specific properties. It is a medium of exchange, which allows us to avoid the problems that Catherine had. It's also a unit of account, and can be used as a measure of costs and revenues through market prices. Here are some characteristics of money that allow it to be used this way. It's durable, which means it should last a long time without breaking. It's homogeneous, which means that each unit should be identical. Portable, so that it's small enough that you can carry it with you. Divisible, so that you can make change. And importantly, it should maintain its value over a long period of time, so your saving would be worth the same even after many years. Throughout human history, there have been many media of exchange, like cattle, salt, or seashells. None of these lasted very long as money. Cattle, for example, wasn't divisible, interchangeable, or easily portable. It also didn't maintain its value over a long period of time. Salt becomes stale over time, so it loses value, and it wasn't homogeneous because one bag of salt could be better quality than another. However, one thing did emerge that had these qualities: gold and precious metals, which can be minted into coins or bars. Gold can be a medium of exchange and a unit of account. We can count up the number of gold coins something costs. It's durable because it doesn't corrode and it can last 1,000 years. It's homogeneous because all 1-ounce coins are identical and can be marked for purity. Coins are portable too, so a lot of purchasing power can fit in one's pocket. It's divisible because the coins can be different weights. And what's most important, gold has been a very stable store of value because its quantity is limited by nature. Only a small amount of gold is mined each year in comparison to the quantity already in circulation. Because of these properties of gold, it has served as money for most of human history. In modern times, however, the whole world has abandoned the gold standard.
How many of you have ever said or done something out of anger that you later regretted? Anger can either be constructive or destructive. A lot of us do unhealthy things with our anger. We get hijacked by our anger and end up erupting. Like when you stub your toe and suddenly you're cursing at the stupid coffee table. When we let anger drive the car, we can become aggressive, name-calling, blaming, or even violent. In essence, it's like you've put your 4-year-old self in the driver's seat. Dangerous. So how do we get the adult back in the driver's seat? How do we support the wise prefrontal cortex in reclaiming the steering wheel, but still allow anger to sit safely inside the car? Well, this is where mindfulness comes in. And to quote mindfulness expert Dr. Shauna Shapiro, mindfulness is paying attention with kindness and curiosity. Research has shown that mindfulness practices support the growth of the regulatory fibers from the prefrontal cortex to the lower regions of our brain, helping our wiser brain to come back online when anger is present. And the following mindfulness tools are key to growing a healthy relationship with anger. Breathe. Let's all take a deep breath right now. Taking deep breaths engages the parasympathetic nervous system and sends signals to our body that soothe the threat response, putting us back into a more relaxed state. So when you notice some tension or anger in your body, first practice slowing things down by taking deep breaths. Name it. A well-known study conducted at UCLA found that when you name your emotions, it puts the brakes on your physiological dysregulation and calms the amygdala hijack. So when you notice anger, without judgment, say, I feel angry, or I feel tension in my shoulders. Do it differently. When you find yourself erupting with anger, try feeling compassion. Take a deep breath and say, I'm hurting right now. How can I be kinder to myself and those around me? Research on compassion indicates that it can decrease cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and increase the feel-good hormone, oxytocin. When you find yourself stuffing anger, try using your whole body to safely feel it. When you creatively embody anger, it can help you begin to resolve past traumas and support you in getting to know your boundaries. And finally, inquire. Your anger has been trying to tell you something, and it's time to listen. With genuine curiosity, ask your anger, what do I need to see right now that I've been unwilling to face? What needs to be protected or supported? What action do I need to take right now? When more of us begin to see anger as an ally, not as a foe, we open to the many gifts this emotion offers us. When anger is our ally, we see this emotion as the flashing red warning light for the things that we or others are trespassing. Anger reveals our boundaries. When we begin to own anger in our body, we can start to thaw the parts of ourselves that have been locked and frozen in trauma. Anger heals trauma. And finally, Anger urges us to come out of denial and see clearly. But we can't just stop there. Anger hangs around until we take action on what we see. Anger inspires action. With all the great challenges humans are going to continue to face, just imagine what it might look like if so many more of us were in healthy relationship with our anger, exercising our power wisely, and channeling this vital energy towards improving our lives and the world around us. So the next time you feel angry, will you pause, take a deep breath, and get to know this potent ally?
Plastic bags are good at holding groceries, but how are they at powering a house? Most of us don't think so much about trash, especially if we live in an industrialized country where we get curbside pickup. But here are some important statistics. 32% of municipal waste is recycled. Another 13% is incinerated, and that leaves the rest, which is over 50%, or 1,000 pounds per year per American citizen, to sit in a landfill to decompose, or not decompose. You see, most metals and plastics can take thousands of years to break down in a landfill. And because we have future generations on the way and they're going to be generating their own waste, this is something we have to think about. Well, how does the stuff get to the landfill in the first place? There's some places that have gotten a little creative with this, like Helsinki, Finland. They're building out a system of pneumatic tubes. So what you do is you sort your waste and you put it in various bins or chutes, and then it flies through these tubes to screw tanks. There are other places like Roosevelt Island, New York, that are doing the same thing, but the one in Finland has some special features. For example, those tanks have sensors on them, so they can alert you to when those tanks are full and a crew can come out and empty it out. They also can track where the trash comes from. That's important. It means that they know who is generating the most garbage, like a manufacturing plant, and those people get charged more for collection services. But that still leaves us with the problem of what to do with all these landfills.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
No, we're not going to shoot it out into space. That doesn't make economic sense. The environmental impact would be terrible. I mean, you might as well pay people $1 million to pour a gallon of oil in the nearest river. But an idea that is getting some traction is plasma gasification. In this process, extremely high voltage electrical current is passed between two electrodes, generating a temperature near 25,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than the surface of the sun. Because this process takes place in a no-oxygen environment, there's no actual burning going on here. Instead, that energy is breaking down the molecular bonds of the trash itself, freeing the component atoms. They become either a synthetic gas or molten slag. And here's the really awesome part. That synthetic gas can actually be turned into fuel that will run the plasma waste converter itself. And if you generate enough synthetic gas, you can actually generate enough electricity to feed back into the power grid. And what about the landfill that's not in a landfill? There are islands of plastic floating in the ocean, like one in the Pacific that's about the size of Texas. What do we do about those?